Hi, this is Susan Mazza, author and founder of Random Acts of Leadership, and I'm welcoming here today Lolly Daskal, CEO and founder of Lead From Within and author of the new book, The Leadership Gap. And I'm really excited to have Lolly here because I've been following her and learning from her for quite a few years now, and she is the real deal. So, Lolly, welcome. Thanks for being here today.
Susan, people don't know this, but I am a great admirer of yours too, and it's a true pleasure and a great privilege to be here today.
Well, thanks. And, I am so excited. I know you've been working on this book for a very long time, so this is one of those things that's been a long time in coming. And so I'm excited to talk about your book today, The Leadership Gap. So let's jump right in, okay?
Absolutely.
So one of the things you talk about in The Leadership Gap is that there's a fundamental problem with leadership today. What is that problem?
So that's a great question. What I have found in leadership is that people are more concerned when they talk about leadership about titles and about positions. And I'm of the belief that leadership is everywhere and within everyone. My company's called Lead From Within for a reason, because I believe that every individual has the capability and the capacity to influence someone and to empower someone. And when you do, you are a leader. But people don't understand that about themselves. And so they think leadership is someone that's sitting in a high office or someone who's sitting in the glass office or someone who they're not able to reach or even be able to contact. It's not like that. Leadership is within us, and it's the people that we surround ourselves with. And that's very important to remember, that leadership is someone who's impacting somewhere, someplace, and that's the most important message that I would like to say about leadership.
Yeah, very good. So you take a particular approach in The Leadership Gap that I haven't seen before. Can you tell us a little bit about the approach in your new book?
Absolutely. So there's three things that are different about this book that you won't find in any other book. Now, some of you might know this, some of you might not. People who know me know that I read a book a day. And I read all the books that are out there on leadership, and I read all the books that are out there on business books, and I have other topics that I like to read. But what I have found in the genre of business and leadership is that most books will talk about the how, the when, the why, the where, and those are great things to talk about when it comes to leadership. But I'm a student of psychology and a student of philosophy, and the sages have always said, and the greats have always said, and my mentors have always said, that who we are is the most important aspect that we need to get right. Why? Because if you don't have who you are right, all the how, the when, and the where, and the why, you can't make right. And so I spend an enormous amount of time teaching people about 7 who's. I just did a podcast, and that's how they called it. It's like the 7 who's. But it's really the 7 archetypes that we need to become in order to lead with our greatness. But what I have found in working over 3 decades is that we do have greatness within us, but we also have a polarity within us that makes us, when we think we can succeed, there's something within us that maybe sabotages us. There's something within us that keeps us stuck. And so I talk about the 7 leadership styles and archetypes of greatness, but within them I also talk about the books, what I call their gaps. So that's what makes this book different. So number 1, I talk about the who. And number 2, what makes this different, that if you read books like Strength Finders and you take Myers-Briggs and all these assessments, they only want to concentrate on one part of who you are. And what I do different here is I concentrate on the whole person. I concentrate on your strengths and I concentrate on your weaknesses. I concentrate on what you excel at and what you might be weak in. And so this is what makes it different. What also makes it different, the third thing that makes this book different is that most people will read this book and say to themselves, which leadership style am I, right? Which archetype am I? But what I feel is, and what I've known is for a long time is, that these leadership styles are within all of us because they come and they stem from virtues like honesty, integrity, trust, loyalty, bravery, courageous. We all have those attributes within us. We all have those virtues within us. And because that is true, my leadership system, my archetypes are situational. That any given moment, in any circumstance, in any opportunity, you can say to yourself, who do I need to be in order to stand in my greatness. Because if not, I'll end up leading from my gaps. So that's what makes this book so different.
You talk about, those other types of assessments that, and I'll put it as they put you in a box. So I noticed that, I too, I'm not a fan of anything that puts people in a box because I don't think we ever we ever fit in a box. So I love that your model really accepts that we're very multidimensional and that who is going to show up to the party, if you will, at any point in time, it can change based on what's going on around us. What do you offer to people in terms of, so when people can see their gap, right? And so if they see their gap, so their gap is basically the shadows that become, am I correct in understanding that the gap is like the shadow that becomes dominant over the archetype of greatness as that you lay out? When the shadow dominates that archetype of greatness, that's where your gap is. How do you figure out what those things are?
Fantastic. Such a great question. So when people feel within themselves stuck, when they feel they've gotten to a certain level and they're not able to get to the next level, when they feel that they have this inner yearning, this inner longing, or this feeling like, I know I could be more, but I'm not there yet, all of that means that we're leading from our gaps. Because when we lead from our greatness, we have a sense of flow. We have a sense of empowerment. We have a sense of we can do anything. We're invincible. It is the parts that own us, the parts that we, actually put it this way, the parts that we don't own us. And that's where we know we're leading from our gaps.
That's really great. So the parts that we don't own us. So how does that happen exactly? Like, just tell me a little bit more about what that looks like in the real world.
So let's talk about one of the archetypes, because then I could illustrate it in a way that, because now we're talking very abstract, and I think that if we can place it into one archetype, people say, yes, I get it, that's me. And one of the things that I have found, every single person that has been through my system, the Rethink system, because the Rethink stands for the 7 archetypes, every single person said, Lolly, how do you know me this well? This is me. This book is about me. And this system is about me. And people that have read this in, galley copy say, did you know me before you wrote this book? Because do you know me this well? How do you know me this well? So, Susan, something is very important to understand. As much as we are unique, there are universal truths about us that no matter who you are, you could be a man, you could be a woman, you could be living in whatever country, it doesn't matter what country, there are fundamentals that are truths. We all want to make an impact. We all want to make a difference. We all want to serve people, and we want to know that we've made a difference in this life. We want to know we've mattered, and we want to know we're valuable. And if this is, I found this, and I've coached thousands of people, thousands, and every person says the same thing to me over and over again in their own unique way. So the truths that I mentioned in this book, why everybody finds themselves, is because it's the same message. We want all those things. Every single person wants the same thing. We want to be able to make an impact. So let's talk about the first archetype, because I think it'll explain what you just asked.
Great.
So in the Rethink system, the R stands for the rebel. The rebel, as I just spoke about, is someone who wants to make an impact in the world. They want to make a difference in the world. They want to change the status quo. So how do they do that? What characteristic do you need in order to be successful in that, in order to stand in your greatness? You need confidence. You need to be a confident person. Now, most people on this call will say, okay, confidence, well, that's difficult. I don't know if I have confidence. Most people will say, maybe I need to stand in front of a mirror and say, I'm great, I'm wonderful. Maybe some people will think I have to read affirmations every single day and say, I can do this, I'm amazing, I will stand in my greatness. That's not confidence for me. Confidence for me, and this is what I teach all my clients, comes from your capabilities plus your competence equal confidence. So if you know what you're really good at, what you're talented at, what your strengths are, and you show up uniquely as you, it will give you the confidence to be the rebel. I always tell my clients, confidence is believing you're able, but competence is knowing you're able. So when you know you're able to do something, that's where you take action. Believing something is one thing. No